Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. I want to talk about such a fun topic today. I love this topic. I love talking about it. I love the energy of it, and that is delusional self-belief. From really connecting with so many people in my audience and talking to them and knowing my clients and just doing this work for a long time, what I have seen is that people they're very intrigued by the idea of having delusional self-belief. They think it's sexy, it's clearly very magnetic, it really works. It's an energy people want to have, but at the same time, it's something that people are really afraid of. They are really afraid of delusional self-belief. They get really skeptical of delusional self-belief. They think it doesn't work. There's all sorts of almost like opinions that have a lot of duality, like it's two sides of the coin where on one side you really want it, on the other side you're like, this, I can't have it, this doesn't work, and it's silly, I don't want to be perceived as stupid. There's all these thoughts. And so we're just going to debunk it today because I'm convinced I have an opinion on delusional self-belief and a way to really break it down that makes it very easy, that makes it really fun for you to get behind. So I want to say too, I have practiced delusional self-belief many times before it was really even called delusional self-belief. And the first time that I had really practiced it was when I first decided that I wanted to get confident. I had crippling low self-worth. I battled myself. I loathed myself. I had no self-belief to operate on. I was running on a pure shame existence. And when I first decided that I finally wanted to change that, I really wanted to get confident. I really committed to doing so. What I was really doing was practicing delusional self-belief. And that's actually something is I think delusional self-belief takes a commitment to change how you've been operating and enter into something new. But at the time, what I was really doing was doing all the tenets of delusional self-belief that I'm going to share with you, but I was rejecting this idea of my past. I was no longer engaging with the negative thoughts. I was taking everything as proof that I was confident, that I could be confident. I stopped caring what people thought, and I stopped really investing into the stories that didn't align with this idea of who I wanted to be. So everything I was doing was feeding myself. I am confident. I am confident. I am confident. I am confident. I have my own back. I believe in myself. I believe in myself. And I was just eating that up. And that was really how I started to build my belief. Was it was almost like I brainwashed myself with a new identity. And then the next time that I really had delusional self-belief as well is when I started my business. I was committed, and I love telling this story because it's so powerful. And if you really sit with it, there's there's so many answers in it. But when I started my business, I was so committed to the idea that I was going to make $150,000 my first year. I believed it like I believe the sky is blue, that I'm a daughter, that, I run a business now. Like I was so committed to the fact that I'm going to make 150K. I had such a strong desire for it. And I find that a lot of people have a strong desire for it and they try to commit, but then they give up. They give up on the delusional self-belief. They give up on the idea that it can happen. And I stayed with it. I stayed with it in an area where most people will not. 99% of people will not stick with that belief, with that idea that they can do it. And so they don't do it. And that 1% who are willing to seem silly and delusional and hold the faith when it seems really hard, they are the ones who do it. And I ended up creating $200,000 that year. And the reason that most people will not hold that delusional belief, that really high belief in something that seems crazy and out there, and there's no way that it happens, is because they're too like quote unquote logical. They're analytical. They're crunching the numbers. They're trying to be practical. They're really trying to be realistic. But really, what that is they're afraid. They're in too much scarcity. They're trying to control things. And that it's really just scarcity. That scarcity is blocking them from tapping into delusion. And this is where I want to really reroute us. This right here, get ready. And if you are cooking right now, if you're on a walk, love it. Continue on with what you're doing, but come back and listen to this with notes. Like have notes at some point for this episode. But this is the kicker of how I really want to shift your perspective. Delusional self-belief is just having high faith. Delusional self-belief is just having really, really high faith in yourself, in God, in the universe, in what's to come, in what you're capable of, in your future. It's just really high faith. When I've talked about this in the past, here's what I'll say. And this sometimes clicks for some of my clients and it doesn't click for others, but I want to give you the option. I was raised in an Italian Roman Catholic family. I got nuns and priests in my family. There was a lot of high faith going on. There's a lot of faith and more of the religious faith. So for me, when I say faith, it's a little easier for me to tap into because I'm like, oh, okay, I understand that. I understand that. It's faith in something bigger. It's faith in myself in a bigger way. But if you don't come from any sort of religious background, just drop it. It's not faith in terms of religion. It's just faith in yourself. It is believing without seeing. Believing without seeing. And a lot of people can tap into high faith like that, but they can't hold high faith. That's the difference here. I want you guys to learn how to hold the high faith. It is believing in yourself. Delusional self-belief is that high faith of believing in yourself before you see the results. Even when it looks like things won't work out. Even when you have past stories that say you can't do it. Even when you're not being validated. Even when people are judging you. Even when, the results haven't come yet. It's still believing despite all that. It is very, very high belief in what you can do, in what you're going to create, and where you're going to go. So much comes on the other side of delusional self-belief. But really, high faith in yourself, high belief in self-trust is exactly what it is. That's all it is. It's really believing without seeing. It's rejecting the current circumstances. It's detaching, and we're going to get into that. It's a lot easier and more basic than you think. It's not this like crazy, I just ignore everything all of a sudden. There's ways to break this down so that you can start implementing it. So let's go through actually what I think really takes to have delusional self-belief. And this is always what's going on whenever I have that delusional self-belief. And on the other side of delusional self-belief is always some of the craziest success I've ever had. Some of the it's where I become the richest. It's where I become the happiest. It's where I become the most confident. It's where I create the most results. It's where I feel like I manifest the most. So much magic is on the other side of your ability to hold high faith. So here's the first thing. This is the first thing that really is going on when you're tapped into delusional self-belief. You are dismissing negative thoughts. You're done with that shit. You're done with that shit. You do not invest into your negative thoughts. Delusional people, they still have negative thoughts, but they're not going down with them. You have lived with negative thoughts for a long time. Drop your ego if you're like, no, I don't. I struggle with that. Yes, you do. I don't believe that anyone doesn't have negative thoughts. You still have some degree of negative thoughts, but you have to be willing, especially if you want the delusional self-belief. And you do. You're listening to this episode. Let's just own it. You want to be delusional. You want self-belief. You want to be on that very magnetic, wild energy of like, I can do anything. I've got this. And I just make it happen. Like, let's all admit we want that, right? You have to be willing to dismiss then the negative thoughts because they're not true. They're not true. It's just a perception that you have really bought into. And when you look at people and you're like, how the hell is she doing it? How is she succeeding that fast? How is it all happening so fast for her? How is her momentum like that? It's because those people, they're not going down with their doubt. They see it, they move on. They see it, they move on. And what that actually is very high emotional intelligence. And everyone listening to this is very emotionally intelligent, but it's a skill that we sometimes fall in and out of. So emotional intelligence is really, they have the ability to manage their emotions, to not get so shaken up, to not get whiplashed by whatever doubtful thought comes through. So delusional people, they see that doubt, they see the negative thoughts, they let it pass, they regulate through it, and they move forward. You need to start dismissing more of your negative thoughts. You don't have to buy in and jump in bed with it and jump in the pool with it and let it come drown you and take over and pull you down. No, you see it, you move on. You see it, you regulate, you move on, you decide something new. Which brings me to the second point. People vary in their delusional self-belief are committed to new stories about who they are and what's happening in their life. I did this a ton. Again, when I first became confident, I had so many shitty stories about myself that were valid. Like, they were true. I'm not even gonna lie, they were true. Things like, I'm undisciplined, I don't know how to believe in myself, people don't like me, I'm not magnetic, I could never have that kind of success. Every single one of those stories, I could back up. I could write a, 10-page thesis on why each of those individually were true, and so many more were true. But I chose new stories anyway because I didn't want to keep getting in bed with my doubt. And so I had to dismiss it and choose new stories. So I chose things like, I'm a really interesting person. I feel really good with who I am. I'm funny. I'm a catch. I light up every room I walk into. People love meeting me. They love being friends with me. I'm successful. I am capable. And I think the thing here, and I talk about this a lot within my offers, is that there's more than one truth in every single scenario. You need to be willing to see a different truth. You need to be delusional. You have to commit to the more empowering truth there. So yes, I could absolutely go down the route. Even today, I could absolutely buy into this part of, I'm not disciplined. I'm not a disciplined person. And I can buy into that. Or I can find another truth, which is I actually am really disciplined in a lot of areas, which makes it, therefore, if I buy into that instead, I'm therefore like, oh, okay. So let's say I want to be more disciplined with my productivity, which I do. Me telling myself that I'm undisciplined, it's not going to do shit for me. It's basically just going to have me buy into the idea that I can't be productive. Instead, I'm like, I'm actually really disciplined in a lot of areas. I am incredible when it comes to my fitness or when it comes to caring about other people. Like, I am disciplined in a lot of areas. And when I tell myself that, I'm like, okay, if I can do it there, I can do it with my productivity. No big deal. So it's about committing to new stories. And this isn't necessarily a fake it till you make it. I don't know. I just don't really love that. I'm about to say something that is probably the exact same thing, but it just hits better for me. Instead of fake it till you make it, because I often find that when people try to fake it till they make it, and what actually happens is that they don't believe it. They don't believe it at all, and then it creates this case of imposter syndrome for them, and I don't know, it can get messy. Sometimes it can work, but it can get messy. I instead believe it until you become it, or be it until you become it. Which for me, it's a little bit more like, okay, I'm gonna work on believing this. I'm gonna work on believing this and believing it until I become it, until it becomes mine. It becomes my new story. And that is exactly what I did to build my confidence, make it all happen, make this life that I live right now possible. And I was just talking to my boyfriend this morning around, we were just really talking around, why'd you start this business in the first place? Like, why'd you want to leave corporate? And it was like, well, I really wanted to create something new. I really wanted to make more impact. I really wanted a bigger life. And so what I had to do to even get there is believe new things about myself until that became my reality. So delusional people are committed to new stories about themselves. Third thing, they have a very clear mind. To have complete faith, I think something that really has to go on there is you got to be regulated. A lot of people are operating with chronic levels of overthinking, of overwhelm, of forecasting what's going to happen. You're just dysregulated. And I think to be delusional, you got to be more regulated than that. You've got to have a clear mind. You've got to be able to manage your emotions to not get so swayed by any little trigger. And you have, therefore, a clear path forward. It is very easy for you to hold faith because you're not getting swung around by any little way that the wind blows. If you're triggered, if emotion comes up, if you have a negative thought, you're very regulated. So you have a clear mind so that you can have complete faith. The fourth thing is that delusional people tend to take everything as a sign and disregard the rest. Like, everything is proof that things are coming and things are working and it's happening. An example that I gave the other day with this is I've been seeing a lot of angel numbers. And it's not just like, oh, exciting angel numbers. I'm taking it of like, fuck yes, like everything's happening, it's all coming. This is just proof that things are going to work. Or any little sign of, I don't know, let's say I was really frustrated yesterday with the reel I made, and I kind of didn't like it, but I was like, you know what, whatever. I'm going to post it anyway. And it ended up getting a lot of saves, like one of my most saved posts ever. And that was like, this is proof. This is proof that I need to stop questioning myself. This is proof that everything's working and that I just need to trust myself and it's all right and it's all on the right path. Like I go down that route. So delusional people really disregard and dismiss things that don't align with the direction that they're going in. They use everything as proof that they are headed in the right direction and they eat it up. They really do eat it up. Every single thing take as a sign that things are working. Like you need to really celebrate and find proof that the universe, God, guardian angels, just you are making it happen for yourself. You're making that unrealistic success, those big goals become yours. You really need to start putting everything through the filter of it's working, it's working, it's working, it's coming. Big things are happening. Things are being sent my way. Everything is working out in my favor. I'm amazing. I'm making it happen. I am confident. I am capable. I can make this happen. Like everything must be put through that filter. The reason I put this one after the clear mind one is because if you're dysregulated, it's very hard to do that. Okay. So you have to really eat up and use everything as proof that things are working in your favor and disregard what's not. And I'm going to talk about the disregard part in a minute. The fifth thing that delusional people are doing is they don't give a fuck what people think. They do not give a flying fuck what other people around them think. They are confident enough to not only not care what people think, but to tell other people their new stories. They do not let people put them in their old box. And you are going to have times, especially practicing this, where you tell people your new story of who you are and who you want to be and what you're creating, and you tell them the big dreams, and they're going to be skeptical or they're going to doubt you or they're going to judge you. If you let that sway you, your faith isn't high enough in yourself. Your belief is not yet high enough in yourself, and keep doubling down on it because it's in you. You can do that. You have to have more conviction in who you are and who you're becoming and what you want than others' opinions. Do not succumb to their opinions. Yours is the only important one. Your opinion of yourself is all that matters. It's all that matters. And I was just talking to a client in Unlimited about this yesterday, where she was saying she really wants to show up as this very confident it girl. And she had a moment where she was like, well, what if other people don't think I'm an it girl? And I reminded her, part of being that confident it girl is not giving a fuck what other people think. Who cares if they don't think that about you? Part of you actually embodying the energy of that confident it girl is not letting people tell you who you are, not letting people's opinions sway you. I'm sure there's people who don't think I'm that confident. There have been so many people on my journey who want to tell me who I used to be rather than who I am now. But I can't get where I want if I let other people tell me what's what, because you decide, and you decide alone where you're going, what you're capable of, what you can do, and who you get to be. Yours is the only opinion about yourself that truly matters. And so stop caring what other people think. The people who do really big things, who are very successful, who have done the work of showing up, they're never going to judge you. The only people who will ever judge you are the people who don't have the confidence to do this, who don't have the confidence to do what you're doing. So don't care about their opinions. They're not confident enough to try it anyway. So not only do I want you to not care what people think, but I want you to also have the confidence to tell people these new stories. Tell people your big dreams. Tell people, I'm going to be delusionally confident. I'm delusionally confident now. That's just who I'm going to be now. And I'm really putting in the work to do this. And this is who I'm going to be. And I want you to get on board. Like, tell them your new stories. Tell them. Because delusional people are so willing to not only have that energy in their thoughts and who they are, but how they move through the world. Back to what I said of when you're looking at people and you're like, how the hell is she doing that? She's succeeding so fast and so magnetic and everything just seems to be happening, because she's not living it only in her mind. She's living it in her reality. She's showing up that way. One of the last things, going to the disregard thing. This is the next really big thing. This is the hardest part for delusional self-belief for the faith. Delusional people disregard their current circumstances that don't align with where they're going and what they want. They just disregard it. And this is where people get hung up because they start to think it's like a la la la, this isn't happening. Like, I don't, this isn't real. But it's it's not necessarily that. But it's more of detachment from your current reality because you know better is coming. So for example, why panic about your bank account if you have complete faith it's going up? Why would you panic about it? Like you're going to be okay. What's the big deal? And if you can't tap into that, it's because you need to build your belief. You need to build your belief. You need to build the faith in the first place. what what people will tell me, either members of my audience when we talk about it or my clients, people worry that if they disregard their current circumstances, they're just gonna like go off the rails. Like they're gonna go crazy. They're gonna sell their car and stop making debt payments and quit their job before they have the money to do so. Like, I don't know where people got this idea that that's what it is, and it's always so funny to me. But no, it's not that. What that really is you're no longer letting your current circumstances, events in your life, triggers emotionally derail you. That's all it is. You're no longer letting things in your current reality emotionally derail you. It's detaching how you feel about yourself from your current circumstances. It's adding in very high self-trust in where you're going and who you are and what's going to happen and what's coming to you so that you don't need to freak out about where you are right now. An example that I've heard a lot of people talk about is like, okay, well, I just don't have debt. I just don't have debt anymore. And if we want to take that example, disregarding circumstances, it's not, okay, I don't have debt, you don't make debt payments. It is more of, I have faith that I am going to pay off this debt. So I don't need to worry about it. Like, I don't need to keep investing all my energy and exhausting myself freaking out about debt because I know I'm going to pay it off. Like, it's there right now. Okay, fine. But it's not going to stay there. So why freak out? Why exhaust myself? Why live in this scarcity when I know I'm going to figure this out? It's no big deal anymore. I'm okay. I trust what's coming. I trust my ability to, for example, pay this off. And why you really want to disregard circumstances when you're delusional is because when you are more regulated, and I already talked about the regulation one, when you are more regulated, you're more powerful. The more you regulate, I always say this, the more I regulate, the more I receive. When I'm even keeled, I can be more confident. I can be more in my self-trust, and I'm going to create more and I'll receive more. So that is why it's important for you to be detached from things that are emotionally derailing you right now. Because when you are delusionally confident, when you have really high faith in what you're going to be able to do, you don't need to worry about it. And the last part and the last kind of tenet of delusional self-belief is you dream big as hell. Many of us stunt our dreaming because it's not realistic. It's not realistic. Why I can't do that. I can't do that. But really, why we're not dreaming big is because we fear what people will think. We fear being wrong. Our logical, pessimistic brain, that's what it is, guys. Your logical brain is logical, sure, but where are you actually just being pessimistic? And you have too much scarcity. Go solve that. Dream bigger. Stop staying in it. Come get coached on it. But delusional people dream really, really big because they believe that they can do it. And some of the questions that I got after sharing this that I just want to talk about is, the first one is, what if my doubt is too loud? And the second one was, how do we balance being a little realistic with delusional? And so let's just dive into those really quick. So with the question, what if my doubt is too loud to be delusional? Then you need to better regulate your emotions. Up your emotional intelligence, regulate your nervous system so that when doubt comes up, you can see it, you can dismiss it, you can move through it, you can hold the faith. All you're telling me is I don't have an ability to actually hold the faith because my doubt, I'm diving in bed with my doubt. You are too in the doubt. You're being too led by your emotions. You're being a reactor. More on that in a coming episode. But if you're not able to disregard doubt, it's because you're not regulated enough. And this is in my new course, Relentless, that's inside of Unlimited. But what I talk about there is just you're not managing your focus enough. You are letting your focus go to scarcity and you're staying in it. So you need to regulate more so that you can stay out of the doubt. And the second question of how do I balance being realistic with this delusional thing? I have this video inside of Unlimited. I love it. It's called Fuck Realistic. And I totally get there's a time and place for being realistic. And the thing that people always meet me with is, but I'm a logical, analytical person. I like the numbers, all this. I am too. I'm analytical. I'm logical. No one loves a spreadsheet like me. No one loves, controlling shit like I do. But so often we're telling ourselves we're being realistic, but check yourself. Like literally check yourself right now. Are you being realistic or are you just actually operating from a place of scarcity, fear, and self-doubt? Which is it? And the second thing is usually when we're being realistic, what you're usually doing is saying, I can only think as big or dream as big as my current reality. So it's like, I can't dream big because that's unrealistic. I love unrealistic. I've made a career off unrealistic. I have what I have because I was willing to be delusional and unrealistic. If you can only think as big as what is realistic for you right now, then you're going to stay in your current reality. Because think about this. If you live in, let's just say you live in your current box, your current reality. If you can only think realistic, that box might stretch a little bit, but you need to think bigger outside the box to have the big success. And I know you. I know my people. If you want the delusional, the fast success, this unrealistic, wild, almost like magical life, this very rich, big life that feels rich to you, and whether that is having this like wonderful oasis at home in this beautiful home and you can spend how you want and spend time with your family, or if it's millions and millions of dollars traveling the world, all of that, either way, it doesn't matter. If whatever is feeling unrealistic to you, it requires you to be willing to have belief much bigger than your current reality. Again, if you can only think as big as your current reality, you will stay in your current reality. It's high faith, having your back, and belief, 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 okay? That's what it is. Delusional self-belief is really just having really high faith in yourself. And where people get in trouble with delusional self-belief is almost like three areas. The first is a timeline. There's no timeline on faith. There's no timeline on belief. What I see all of the time is people will be like, well, by the end of this month, I'll try delusional self-belief by the end of this month. Or like, I'll try it to hit a certain goal that, I don't know, at the end of this month. No, no, that's not faith. That's not faith. That's you still operating in fear and giving yourself a small leash to work on to try and believe in yourself. It's not what it is. You need to have faith. You need to believe without seeing it. You need to be able to believe at the end of the month, if it doesn't happen, that's still freaking happening. And it's going to happen bigger and better than you even imagined, and something even more magical is coming than you thought. Like, that's faith. The second thing is people will not actually get on board with delusional self-belief. They say they're being delusional. They say they're living in high faith, but they're actually still in scarcity and doubt. And they end up gaslighting themselves more than actually trusting themselves. And then the third thing that I see all the time with delusional self-belief is people will be like, well, it didn't work. Like, no, no, bitch, you didn't believe. Like, I love you, but you didn't actually believe. You doubted yourself. You gave up. There was a period in which you were almost in this liminal phase where you had to trust, where the results weren't coming, where you felt a little silly, where you felt kind of crazy for believing in yourself, where it looked like things weren't going to work, when you weren't being validated, and you pulled back, that's when you needed the delusional self-belief the most. Every single time, people have the ability to really, really hold that delusional self-belief, even when it's uncomfortable and scary, because they're doing everything I just listed in this episode. Magic happens, miracles happen, big things happen. Their unrealistic success becomes theirs. It's worked every time. It's never failed. It's really genuinely never failed because they have been able to hold the faith, hold the belief. If you're listening to this episode, let's own that you want to have delusional self-belief, that you want to have such audaciously confident, high faith in yourself. Let's own it and let's create it. Do the work to create it. Do what you need to do for this because you can. It's in you. You can create every single thing that you want to. There is nothing out of availability for you. It's all available for you. When you really believe, when you hold the faith, when you start stepping into higher levels of confidence and think bigger than your current circumstances. I believe in you. I know you can do this. And I have something really new right now, which is I just came out with a 3-day training If you listen to this on time, you'll be able to do it live, but if not, it'll be a free mini course for you, all on becoming more relentless. And relentless is really about I never give up on my dreams. I see it through. I have such high faith, high self-trust, high belief in myself, and I make things happen. I'm just operating in that relentless energy. Like, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to make anything I want happen. And so these trainings are all on how to become more relentless and become the richest, happiest, most confident version of yourself in the next coming weeks. And one of the things I'm talking about on day 3 is going way deeper on dreaming bigger, on delusional self-belief, on stepping into this energy of a person who has constant momentum, who is magnetic, who always makes these things happen for herself. So if this was an episode where you're like, okay, yeah, I want more, and I want to know how to become relentless and really make this happen, go in the show notes and you can sign up for the 3-day free training. And I cannot wait to see you inside there. I'll catch you on the next episode.